What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Yeah, how's everyone doing today? I'm not gonna lie, I've been a little bit black-pilled, if you will, the last couple weeks with everything that's been going on, but I can't guarantee this video will make you necessarily feel any better, but hopefully it should give you some good arguments to use out there with um, with a lot of the race debates and a lot of the rhetoric that's coming from the left right now as far as race goes, racial issues, white privilege, and as you can see by the title of this video, what we're going to be talking about today is the meme that white silence is violence. So I'm assuming that, I always say this, but I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you're familiar with that meme somewhat. For anyone who's not, basically white silence is violence, that phrase. Um, it's been around for a couple years, I feel like. I feel like it's been around since like 2013, right after like the Trayvon Martin stuff spiked and the Mike Brown incidents got a lot of national notoriety. But basically, it's the concept that if you're white and if you're not, if you're white and you're not only not racist, but you're not speaking out in the way that other black people want you to speak, if you're not actively anti-racist, then you are perpetuating the violence against black people um, that is systemically perpetuated against black people every day. So basically, if you're not speaking up for us, if you are being silent and you're not being vocal in favor of everything we agree with, then you are participating in the violence against us. And it's a total, we'll get into why it's actually immoral what that is. It's immoral. It's kind of like Steve Franson would say. It's kind of satanic actually because it's persuasion through language, and that's not all Satanism is or anything, but it is. A lot of the traits of it are satanic. It's persuasion through manipulation and verbal trickery. So it really is pretty immoral what that statement is when you read into it. When I really thought about what that statement means, I thought about Jordan Peterson. Um, and I know that is like a totally different video that's been done a million different ways, but Jordan Peterson, he's had his ups and downs. We all know, that his ideology, it there are problems there, but there was a time when Jordan Peterson was really saying really relevant, important things that added to the public discourse. And when he first came on the scene in 2016, when he was fighting Bill C-16 in Canada, the bill in Canada that he was fighting that made it mandatory under punishment of law to call a transgender person by the pronoun that they opt to um, be called. And Peterson's big problem with that bill was that there have been bills in the past that restrict certain speech, but there had never been a bill in Canada before that made certain speech mandatory. And while white silence is violence isn't a bill or a law per se, it may as well just be a social law at this point because I'm sure you can tell if you've been on Facebook or Twitter, or any of your normie friends outside of like this this sphere of the internet. Um, yeah, I mean, my Republican friends are all on the bandwagon of white silence is violence. They posted the black cube, black square meme on Instagram. They are saying that, it's not enough just to be an ally. You have to be out there in the streets with Black Lives Matter or something. Even though I've never seen any of them do that, they post the memes. Not that I want them to go out there and do that, but it's just very convenient that all these people, in order to keep their jobs and keep their friend groups, they'll say whatever they have to say. It's actually a lot like coronavirus. I did a video a while ago about how a lot of these people, they were only following the dictates of the government because they just wanted to go out and party. So they were willing to be like, I'll sacrifice my freedoms. Just don't take away the clubs from me. I want to go dance and I want to go participate in degeneracy. It's like it's similar to that with this because you have people saying things that I know they don't believe. A lot of my friends, they voted Trump, but I see them falling in line with the dialogue in order to just, it's very much like Gulag Archipelago. if you haven't heard of or checked out that book, you should. But Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he details communist Russia, and just very much like the cult mentality that they had going on back then, and it's eerily reminiscent of now. Another really poignant point, if that's a thing, um, that someone told me before I started this video. I'm not going to dox them, obviously, they're my friends, but Mark and Megan, shout out you guys, '07. Um, Mark had a really good point, and I asked them for their take on kind of the whole meme of white silence is violence, and um, he came up with the concept that if you fall into the mindset of white silence is violence, you end up with white thinking is supremacy, white flight is racist, whites moving into a neighborhood is gentrification, and just about anything whites do is bad in the eyes of cultural Marxists. And that's dead on. It's kind of like that chart. I'm sure you've all seen it where if a white person does anything, it's going to be end up considered racist. So, white people moving into a neighborhood is gentrification. White people moving out of a neighborhood is white flight. White people speaking up is them asserting their whiteness into the conversation. White people not saying anything is violence. White silence is violence. If a white person sees color, that's racism. If a white person doesn't see color, they're not acknowledging the struggle of the minority. Or if a white person participates in minority culture, that's cultural appropriation. If they don't participate in minority culture, they're not embracing minority culture. It's a lose-lose game, and really the important thing to take away, I hope, from this video is to just not accept their framing. Um, so anyway, as per my usual videos, there's 3 different pieces of content I want to take a look at tonight. My lighting's a little bit off. Can't really do anything about it. Sorry if the lighting's a little dark, but um, there's 3 pieces of content I want to look at. One is going to be a super chat that I sent to Nick Fuentes to America First on Tuesday, I believe. And it breaks down kind of what my thinking is behind um, the reintroduction of the white silence is violence meme. The second one is going to be a post that one of my Aussie followers, thank you, Becca, shared with me from I think it was like a Christian mom page, like these pages on Facebook, um, where moms post, like neighborhood moms post and ask for advice from other moms. There's going to be one of those. And then the longest portion, I think, and this is going to be what kind of drags the video to be, this one might be over an hour, to be honest with you, but we're going to take a look at a 6-minute video from a slew, oh, you'll see, a slew of black activists who basically make the case that white silence is violence, but they never actually make any logical arguments. They basically just appeal to your emotions for 6 minutes, and it's really interesting to look at the verbal trickery that they play with you in order to get you on their side. So those are going to be the 3 things we look at. Um, Hopefully it's a good video. Let's jump right in. Okay. So this is the super chat that I sent to Nick, our boy Nick, the big guy, on Tuesday about the meme of white silence is violence. I am going to shout out the Twitter user who's been helping me do some clipping lately, Jumer Nat. He's an interesting character on Twitter, but he's helped me out a lot. Jumer Nat, yeah, he's a good guy. He has good content. I like that guy. But yeah, he helped me with this. Shout out Steve Franson. I was watching a video of his before this. But here we go.
Beast is within 2 weeks, blacks and the left normalized the white silence is violence meme. It's scary because whites, 1, must speak up, and 2, have to say the right thing when they do speak. No dissent tolerated, no nuance allowed. This whole thing feels odd. That's a very good point. And it's true. They've memed this like anti-racism thing, Like, it's not enough to not be explicitly racist. You have to be anti-racist, and being anti-racist means you have to be a fag, like Race Trader. So yeah, you're definitely right about that. They've totally flipped the conversation. They flipped the script on this, and that matters. Fluff says baked in the car. Haha.
Yeah, so And that's my basic take right there is that that's the basic take that I have as far as, my thesis or whatever on the white silence is violence meme. The problem is that, you know, for the last few years we've been told, I mean not me literally, but white people have been told that if they speak up, they need to be quiet and let the minorities talk, because they're coming from a place of privilege or whatever over intellectualization the left and minorities use now. But now they've flipped it to not only don't be quiet, you have to speak up in our favor. And not only do you have to speak up, you have to say the right thing when we ask you to speak up. It's very much like like Jared Taylor says, keep Whitey on their toes, keep Whitey on their heels. So I don't, and we'll get into this idea more when we watch the 6-minute video, but I just don't like that approach to any group. That could be any minority group or any majority group talking to any other group. It could be a customer talking to a cashier, speaking to them that way. You need to speak when I say. I don't like rudeness, and that just comes off as very rude and trying to dominate another group that you feel will um, kind of, I guess, cut to your demands. And that's unfortunately that's what too many white people have done, and not enough white people have said, no, I don't accept your framing. What do you define as racist? Because that seems to change every month. So yeah, like where we're at now is it's racist if white people aren't pro Black Lives, or if they're not vociferous enough in their support of Black Lives Matter. It's a terrible place we're at right now. So the second one we're gonna look at is, okay, we're gonna look at the post, the mom group from Facebook. This one is pretty sad. I feel bad for this kid. Whoever this kid is, whew, if he ever finds this video, dude, I'm sorry for what your parents did to you. All right. So this was on my Twitter, Jordan B Videos, if you don't follow. Um, this blew up somewhat. I mean, by my standards, I don't have a huge Twitter, but it got 220 retweets, 800 likes. That's pretty cool. Um, so the post from this woman, they didn't dox her or anything, so blacked out, but the post was as follows. Hello, fellow moms. This is a neighborhood mom group, so she's asking obviously other moms what their advice on this situation is, as if this is like some huge moral conundrum that yeah. Imagine being this privileged that your biggest racial concern is that your white friends haven't spoken up. Yeah. So it says, hello, fellow moms. Got a question for you. My 11-year-old son has a best friend who is white. So that I think a lot of people were confused in the comments. They assumed that the mom typing this question was white, but if the mom was white, why would she be concerned that the other white parents aren't speaking up? This is a black mom typing this. You can tell, or else this wouldn't be an issue for her. But she says, my 11-year-old son has a best friend who is white. My husband and I only have a cordial relationship with the white parents. Given the current racial climate, we have seen that my son's best friend's parents have been particularly silent during this time. We aren't sure where they stand on all the racial injustice matter, and that bothers us. The mother recently contacted me and asked if my son could come over to her house to hang out with her son. Mind you, they live in $1 million home. We live in an apartment, parentheses, systemic racism. What should I say or do? I'm torn between allowing my son to go over there or keeping him home. What do all think? That's pretty satanic right there. I mean, that I what I do a lot is substitute satanic for evil, but that is evil right there. So basically, we can go line by line. Given the current racial climate, we have seen that my sons, yeah, so they've been particularly silent, which is stupid. Either they're silent or they're not. How is their silence any more silent than if another white person didn't speak? That's just stupid. But they've been particularly silent during this time, which goes back to the white silence is violence meme. So they're they're expecting that these people speak out. Even if they don't agree, they have to they have to have their support, because alternatively, if they did speak up and didn't share the black mom's mindset, Would she be okay then with having her kid go? No, what she's saying is they haven't agreed with me and they haven't, like I say in my tweet, they haven't issued the public apology to her yet. And that was the tweet. It's escalating to quote, if you don't issue your public apology to me, then you're a threat to me. That's where this mom's coming from. She hasn't gotten her, you know, she hasn't gotten the white mom to shame herself in the court of public opinion yet, so therefore she's a threat and she's not gonna she's not gonna kiss her feet in the middle of the town square, so she's a threat. So yeah, they're upset that she's being silent, I guess. But then also I would think from the mom's point of view, like I think a lot of white people, even if they on a base level agree that like police brutality is wrong, even if they're not woke on like crime stats and stuff, even if they agree, they don't really know what to say because the other thing with the white silence is violence thing is the flip side of that. If a white person says something and it's not the right thing, then they could lose their job. So the white mom who has the $1 million house, and we'll get into that, she might just be afraid that she's going to say the wrong thing, even if she tentatively agrees with the black side of the issue. So that's a poor standard anyway. And also, it's like, why should she have to say anything in order for your sons to be friends? That's wrong. So we don't know where they stand on this matter, and it bothers us. The mother recently contacted me and asked if my son could come over to her house to hang out with her son. So we'll jump into the next sentence after this, obviously, but she recently contacted me and asked if my son could come over to her house to hang out with her son. What do they think's going to happen there? Like, do you think they're going to like not to get like, graphic, are they going to you know, sacrifice your son on a satanic altar because they didn't donate 10,000 to Black Lives Matter? It's goofy. It's like, do they have any history of abusing your son? I would think not, because they wouldn't have been friends in the first place. So I don't really know where she's coming from. What's going to happen? Is the assumption that if she doesn't apologize to you, she's going to like injure your son? Like how how narcissistic are you? Like the whole world revolves around you and how you feel about conversations. Forget about your 11-year-old son who this is his best friend. Yeah, she even says it here. My son has a best friend who's white. This is her kid's best friend. Her son may have heard of the protest, which I'm sure they have if her mom is this outspoken, but I doubt her son is like, why aren't Billy's parents speaking up about the racial inequities in our modern society? I doubt that. This is female narcissism, because this is actually, I didn't even realize that. This isn't even the dad typing this. This is the mom, so this is female narcissism here. Um, Poor kid. And then this one's the kicker. Mind you, will you? They live in a $1 million home. We live in an apartment. Systemic racism in parentheses. Like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's so much to unpack there that I don't even want to I don't want to do this all day, but we live in an apartment. Systemic racism. This mom has like internalized these buzz terms to such an extent that like she believes this. She's not lying. She really believes this. But yeah, as if it's the wealthy mom's fault that they live in an apartment, and also that it's systemic racism that put them in the apartment. So like one of the comments I had underneath was like, it's almost as if she thinks that she was just like plopped in an apartment and dropped out of a helicopter into the hood one day. It's like there are so many factors, and I think that's what frustrates me the most about the entire last 2 or 3 weeks of the racial climate is like the assumption that all these disparities between wealth and between races and wealth and crime and all that is it's a one factor thing. It's just racism. It's not behaviors. It's not, eh, I don't even want to go there, but it's not a multitude of factors. It's one thing. It's just racism, and that's only white people's fault. So when this mom lives in an apartment, and her son's best friend's mom and their dad live in $1 million house, that's because they stole the wealth from the black family. It's like, poor kids, they probably just want to play like, you know, Fortnite or something. And this mom's like, she didn't apologize for her systemic privilege. No friends for you. You could, ironically, what this will probably lead to is her having, or her son having like other poor friends who are like committing crime because, well, they're at our socioeconomic level and they're all black, so you can play with them. Okay, okay, Jamarquis, go play in the hood with Shaquille. When he could be exposed to a better environment here. Who knows? I think back to my childhood when I was that age. I went to private Catholic school from kindergarten to 12th grade. The demographics of that school are kind of what you would expect. It was probably 5% black, 10% Hispanic, and maybe like 5% Asian, and the rest was white. I had a few black friends, but they were all wealthy too. Not that I was wealthy, they were wealthy, and they lived among my white friends. But there was never, and this was in 2004 through 2011. There was never a discussion of like, you can't go over to your white friend's house because they're not apologetic for their race. There was none of that. It was like, oh, you want to go to Brandon's house? All right, go with him after school, ride your bikes, and come home later, or I'll pick you up. Or, you know, oh, your friend Hunter wants you to come over? Yeah, I like his mom. They didn't have a problem that I was black. My parents didn't have a problem that they had more money than us, and nor did we blame them for having more money. It was just a healthier time in race relations, and it's kind of sad how it's denigrated at this point. But I feel bad for this kid. He has a good friend, and the friend happens to be wealthy, and this mom thinks that it's racist that her son's best friend's parents are wealthy. It's pretty sad, but such is the state of race relations in America. But and then here's the one. I think I touched on everything there. Yeah. I'm torn between, but you could substitute this last sentence. I'm torn between allowing my son to go over there and keeping him home. You could substitute that for, I'm torn between not allowing my son to keep his best friend and change his friend group based on my leftist ideology, or letting him have a normal childhood that's not based on BS leftist terms like systemic racism. That you could substitute that. I'm torn between allowing my racial narcissism affect my son's childhood in a way that he won't develop strong bonds with different people among different socioeconomic groups. You could easily make that sentence that mom is not. Maybe she's brainwashed, maybe she's not a good person, I don't know, but I feel bad for the kids in those situations. Okay. And the last one, I think this one will I'm going to try to let this run as much as I can. This is from CBS, so, you know, it sucks. This video can never get monetized. I'm going to get a copyright strike on this like immediately when I upload it, but this was just too good to pass up. So if this video gets 100 million views and I monetize the channel, go donate on D Live or something. But um, yeah, so this is a video that CBS came out um, with cities across America burning and black communities in pain. Many white people have continued posting selfies and pictures of food on social media as if nothing is wrong, and it is not going unnoticed. The high-handed tone. So I think that's my biggest problem with videos like this is I hate the high-handedness, and you'll see exactly what I mean once we get into this. But I hate the condescending tone, like talking down to people, and this is getting into what I was saying earlier about. This could be a cashier, or this could be a customer talking to a cashier. This could be the Asian community talking to the black community. It could be Jews talking to Indians. I don't care. I hate this tone, like the elementary school teacher tone of like the school marm. I can't stand that. Um, And this video is very feminine too. Even the guys, and it probably because a lot of them are like actors or have like theatrical training, but you'll see what I mean. Um, so yeah, this video basically gets into, I think, 5 or 6 different black activists, whatever that could be a substitute for anything. It's basically just agitator, societal agitator. But um, it's like 5 or 6 black activists who talk about their issue with white people or white friends of theirs not being silent. This is the white silence is violence meme boiled down into a 6-minute video from black leftists. So this is how they are viewing white silence is violence. So we'll jump in. Usually I play the video all the way through and then comment on it, but for this one, because it's longer, I haven't watched all of it, so we'll just let it go. Okay, I don't know who any of these people are, for the record. So, leave feedback in the comments below. They give their names, but I don't know who these people are. They're not serious people. All right, first guy.
Morning, a friend of mine, posted something without posting anything about hashtag Black Lives Matter. It's incredibly hurtful. It's incredibly hurtful, particularly to people that I considered friends.
While I would otherwise love to read your favorite.
So right there, that guy is upset already because he has friends that are posting like normal without talking about Black Lives Matter. Being silent, that's violence, and he said he once considered them friends. So they're no longer his friends now because they haven't spoken up. And he doesn't know why. He hasn't. Again, I'm not, no, you know what? I'm not even going to fall into that framing because it doesn't matter why they haven't said anything. It's not their obligation to say anything unless you're in these spheres of people where, and that's the white people's fault, frankly. If you're white and you've worked yourself into this leftist sphere where you're just like subjugating yourself to every POC demand that they require of you to where they'll end the friendship because you didn't do a Facebook post, then you made your bed. You can lay in it. So I actually don't have any sympathy for them, but it is interesting though.
Bread recipe.
Friends.
While I would otherwise love to read your favorite banana bread recipe, it is necessary for me to have people, especially influencers, especially celebrities, to acknowledge that pain. Like if you were standing in a fire, you're in pain, and you have someone who's sitting 3 feet away who's not on fire, who's refusing to acknowledge your pain, and is twirling around with banana bread, it's the same thing.
If something extremely...
Oh God, this video is chock full of those kind of like false equivalencies. So if you heard what she said, if you were on fire and your best friend wasn't on fire and they were just twiddling around with banana bread while you're on fire, you would feel some type of way. Well, what if that fire was self-inflicted? Like, what if you have been pouring gasoline on yourself for the last 40 years and then you lit a cigarette? I mean, what do you want them to do? Go back in time and make sure you didn't pour that gasoline on yourself? Like, I don't know what you want them to do. They can't correct your historic grievance. It feels like you just want them to say things that confirm your worldview.
Who's refusing to acknowledge your pain and is twirling around with banana bread, it's the same thing.
If something extremely personal happens to you, I wouldn't be able to post about Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and then in the midst of that, I'm posting about things that are lighthearted and happy and completely unrelated.
White.
See, oh God. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no, no, no. Okay. We got to do a physiognomy check on her. Okay, this guy is a little more serious. He's like a serious character. At least he thinks he is. But so what did he say? He said that if he wouldn't be able to post about, I can't stop thinking about her physiognomy. He said that if he wouldn't be able to post lighthearted stuff in between posting about Ahmaud Arbery, who was wrestling men for their shotgun, first of all. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. I don't know all the details about Breonna Taylor. That one does seem like police injustice, but there's no evidence that it was racial, so moot point. and George Floyd, the fentanyl meth addict who had a heart attack. Um, he said he wouldn't be able to post about all three of those and then post lighthearted stuff in between. So basically what these people want is for you to sink down into their level of discomfort and stay there and do what they say while you're down there, basically. Um, come down here. I know you're happy, but I need you to be unhappy like me, and I need you to subjugate yourself and kiss my boots while you're down here, please. Thank you. I'm black and I won't do that because I'm doing fine.
And completely unrelated.
White silence.
Oh no. So I'm not making fun of the poor lady, but bruh, physiognomy? Can we get a physiognomy here? We got Stacey Abrams in a different outfit. This is a DMV. In a past time, this would be a DMV worker. I mean, I'm tired of like beating around the bush. This would be a DMV worker at any other time in history. But sadly, people like this are elevated, and this woman doesn't have
Completely
she doesn't have anything good to say. So watch this.
unrelated.
And she's really theatric too. She's very thespian. She's very thespian. It's almost like she's been taking theater classes. And there's one other woman in this video who's very much like that. But all of them have that same, like, they get into it more. I'll let it play a little bit more.
Silence is incredibly powerful. It's not neutral. It acts like a weapon. It's not even silent. Like it speaks volumes. It's not neutral.
Look at her qualifications. This is 2020 right here. Executive Director, the Thelton E. Henderson Center for Social Justice at UC Berkeley. What do you contribute to society other than division and agitation? You don't produce anything. You don't make anything. You don't provide services. You don't provide goods. You literally just stroke you stroke the flames of racial discohesion in this country. You are a destructive force to the country, frankly. And look, she's not even like, all these people. Tripczynski, are you Polish? Like what?
Acts like a weapon. It's not even silent. Like it speaks volumes, right? And the people of color who are around a silent white person, they hear the silence and they feel what it means.
Whenever I see someone who's not a person of color on social media who is not posting anything at all, it reads as either tone deaf or worse, being complicit.
I'm watching
this woman. She's not dumb. She's just very theatric. She like has the facial expressions down. She raises the eyebrows. She knows when to look away. But yeah, the last lady just said she said that white silence isn't even silence, that it speaks volumes. Like these people, their worldview is so intertwined that white silence is not only violence, white silence isn't even silent. It speaks volumes. So when white people speak, like Mark said, when white people speak, that's white supremacy. When they don't speak, it's violence. If a white person speaks up, shut up, whitey, you're in our space, it's time for us to speak. When they don't speak, you're violent against me. It's all designed to keep white people on their toes. I'm telling you, that's all it's for.
who speaks out. And I'm not saying that you have to speak out and have this, this whole spiel of Black Lives Matter. I'm not even necessarily saying I need you to post, but at the bare minimum, a friend would reach out to another friend. How are you doing during this time? I'll admit that I've been silent. I'll admit that I've ignored.
See, and this woman is a little bit more subtle with her approach. I don't really respect her because what she's saying is basically evil, but you give the devil his due, basically. She comes at white people in this video more of like this slippery serpent. Like, I'm not necessarily saying you have to post. I'm just saying you need to message me and kind of see how I'm doing and acknowledge. And this is the other thing. This is the new religion. And I know that's kind of trite. I know our side has been saying that for a while, that in the absence of religion, something will replace it. And at this point, it seems to be social justice and Black Lives Matter. Because listen to what she's saying right here. She's basically saying, maybe you don't need to post on social media, but you need to reach out to me to get attrition you need to reach out to me to get forgiveness for your actions or for your inaction. You need to apologize for everything.
How are you doing during this time? I'll admit that I've been silent to another
Listen to that.
friend.
I'm Catholic. Don't give me hate in the comments for that, but I'm Catholic. There is a very specific sacrament, and I'll let you guess what it is when you listen to this. Listen to what sacrament do you think this is in Catholicism?
How are you doing during
Listen
this
to
time?
this.
I'll admit that I've been silent. I'll admit that I've ignored some of the issues that you face as a Black person, but I want you to know that I'm your friend and I see you and I hear you. I am paying attention to friends that aren't doing that.
So if you don't know, that very, very much mirrors the sentiment behind the sacrament of confession in Catholicism, where you go to the priest, you say, I apologize for my sins. These are my sins. I did X, Y, Z. Please give me your forgiveness. These people think that they're the new gods. They're the new demigods. They're the ones that need to be worshipped, and you see this in a lot of urban areas. I'm sure if you're on Twitter a lot. I think in Seattle there were like the Black Hebrew Israelites. They had a setup on a street corner where white people could kiss their boots and offer attrition for their sins as white people. That's more or less what she's saying. She's saying, well, maybe you don't post on Facebook, but maybe you contact me and you apologize for your sins. That you got to see that this is their new religion. This is the left's new religion. It's social justice and racial equality.
I'm a new mother, and this has been particularly difficult and painful. I look at my son and I see Tamir Rice. I look at my son and I see Trayvon Martin. When I see people choosing because they have
Forced tears. This is forced tears. And then also, so I've talked to my mom and dad about this. They've never felt that way about me, about like when you leave the house, I just feel like you're going to get gunned down by police. They've never felt that way because they know that if I get pulled over, I'm not going to wrestle the cop for his gun. I drive safely. I don't ride around with drugs in the car. I don't drink and drive. I don't fight cops. I don't run. I've been pulled over before, but that's really where it ends. It's really not rocket science to not get shot by the police. I know that that's controversial. I don't really care. It's not hard to not get shot by the police, guys. Comply and follow the rules and don't be disrespectful, and you're usually good.
the privilege to.
And this is very forced on her end, so she wants to be sad. This is it's self-imposed sadness. She starts off not crying, but then she looks off and imagines something and goes, that could be my son, that could be my son. She wants to feel this way. She wants to evoke emotions from white people and in effect get resources.
And I see Trayvon Martin. When I see people choosing because they have the privilege to choose to ignore our pain and our fear and the fact that it feels like half the time we are screaming into a void and that people are not listening because it makes them uncomfortable. When I see that, I want to show them a picture of my happy child and say, George Floyd was that child.
No, he wasn't.
Tamir
George Floyd was not he was a 46-year-old fentanyl meth addict. Now, was there maybe some police impropriety? You could maybe make that argument, but one, there's no argument that it was racially motivated. He did resist arrest. He was on fentanyl. There is body cam footage proving that he was saying he couldn't breathe even before he was on the ground. He basically had a heart attack and didn't die of asphyxiation. But I'm not here to litigate the George Floyd case. She's trying to make you sad and mad over something it's not really accurate. And she says something else here. What was it?
a happy child and say George Floyd was that child, and because it makes them uncomfortable.
Oh, this part.
And the fact that it feels like half the time we are screaming into a void and that people are not listening because it makes them uncomfortable.
Who is not listening to you right now, lady? Like, really think about what she just said there. And this is kind of the problem that I see with even trying to address racial issues, is that even when as a country we take a moment and have the difficult conversations like we're having right now, for example, this country is going through unprecedented race riots that we haven't seen in probably 60 or 70 years. We are writing bills, we are dismantling police departments. We are doing things that are just unprecedented and will have negative impacts. Why are we doing it? Because people like this are having a temper tantrum on CBSN. This person has the audacity to sit here on this video and say no one is listening to me while they have the freaking CBS logo in the corner of their video. Who is not listening to you? Who? Everyone's listening. The world is listening. Every demand that you want is sadly being met just to appease a petulant child who is having a temper tantrum. Frankly, I don't know if this will get me in trouble, but I see these race riots as nothing more than a petulant, immature child throwing a temper tantrum because they're not getting the toy they wanted at Toys R Us. It is what it is.
When I see that, I want to show them a picture of my happy child and say, George Floyd was that child. Tamir Rice was that child, et cetera, et cetera. Breonna Taylor was that child. That is someone's child. And so the very least you can do is acknowledge the pain. The very least you can do is hear us.
I wonder what these people would say to like Molly Tibbetts' family or like any family that's killed disproportionately. And I don't even want to go here necessarily, but it's true. If we use her framing and say that, oh, look at a picture of my child. Look at it. You look at it. This could be my child. Okay, we'll play that game. Then you tell that to the disproportionate amount of white families that are killed at the hands of black people. If you want to have that discussion, we can have that too, but you don't want to have that, and anytime someone brings it up, you call them racist. It's a one-way street, and in order for any type of racial equality or any type of racial cohesion or living together to happen in this country, it's got to be a two-way street, and it can't just be you crying anytime there's a little bit of a question about how someone was killed, but then if the other side brings it up about their side at the hands of your side, they're a bigot and a white supremacist. It's like these aren't equal playing fields, and it's actually not in the favor of white people, frankly, or Asians, honestly. You know, I saw a video a few weeks ago of an Asian guy just getting drop kicked by a mob of black people. If it was a black guy getting drop kicked by a mob of white people, it would be on CNN and Don Lemon would have tears streaming down his cheeks. So it's just not, this is so performative. It's like it's not based in any reality. It's all, I feel bad. You've been bombarded with news stories for the last 3 weeks. Feel bad, cry tears, and if you don't, you're racist. It's a shakedown.
Incidents we have had.
Oh, I hate this part. Why do I do this to myself, guys? Why do I do this to myself? So this guy gets on, after this lady, this guy gets on camera and he's ready for some tears. They're not even real tears. His eyes are totally white.
The very least you can do is hear us.
All the incidents we have had with black people dying. There have been other officers, other white people standing at the sides watching it happen.
Okay,
bro. Why couldn't they just say?
No, so he is actually crying. And he's a Broadway performer, so I'm not surprised he can cry on cue. So that's all I'll say there. But there's white people on the side.
Stop, man, stop. Why was that so hard?
You know, one has to ask whether...
So there he's trying to like really solidify the fact that if white people don't speak up like during a police arrest to stop brutalizing someone, then that's violence. That one makes a little more sense. I don't totally agree with it, but there are times where like, the problem with that, and this is where they're not smart enough to engage in any like thoughtful discussion. This is where IQ comes in. What precedent does that set if a mob of people feel strongly enough while someone's being arrested to just like knock out the officer, free the criminal, let them run? I'm not saying that Derek Chauvin did the right thing by putting his knee on his neck for that long, but and we're starting to see this in larger urban areas. What happens when the mob can overpower the cops? And I think we'll see that in probably the next 10 years, where if enough people are upset that someone's getting arrested, they're just gonna like mob the cop and just like tackle them and kill them or whatever happens there. But um, yeah, what precedent does that set for our legal system, for law and order? Do we look like a third world country then? This guy wants it to look like that. This guy thinks that any time a black person faces consequences for their action, that's an example of systemic racism. And I'm over here like, no, there are police, improprieties that are done, but 9.9 times out of 10, there's a reason behind why someone's getting arrested or why the cop is fighting with them. The cops don't just walk up to people and start punching them and beating a dead horse. Oh, Miss DMV worker again. Here we go. Here we go.
So hard.
One has to ask whether there isn't a certain amount of willful blindness that comes into play at certain times when you're talking about persistent white silence.
This woman just like, I can't stand this lady. It's not even her physiognomy that makes me mad. It's just very much this like, I'm gonna string. This is what like 105 IQ people with a college degree sound like. I'm gonna string together some big words into long sentences with large pauses in between them, so I can really solidify a lot of the heterodox point of views I have regarding like racial injustice and the fact that the issue of white supremacy has just gone on for so long. These people aren't thinkers. This is what a 105 IQ person thinks a thinker looks like, so they emulate that. This person's not smart.
In the face of so many invitations to speak.
I think fear drives everything or prevents everything. People are afraid of saying the wrong thing. People are afraid of how they're going to appear. People are afraid of their lack of knowledge, and people are afraid of the unknown.
Of all of them, that guy, it's probably because he's a fitness guy, and fitness people, like, they're more tied to reality than like people like this. This person is not based in like any objective reality because like you can tell she's morbidly obese. Um, all of her ideas operate like in the theoretical of like the white supremacist country that has been established. This next guy, I don't agree with him, but if you're
And
involved in
to speak.
fitness, if you're involved in fitness like this guy,
I think fear drives everything or prevents everything. People are afraid of saying the wrong thing. People are afraid of how they're going to appear.
yeah, so this guy's a fitness influencer. It doesn't mean that he's right. It just means that he has more of a grip on reality because he has to deal with things like objective reality, like my muscles are getting larger. I do X amount of curls to get X amount of mass, or eat X amount of calories to. You're dealing with something tangible. That other woman she just says long sentences. This guy's not totally wrong, but so what he's saying here is that fear drives everything. Fear of saying the right thing, fear of saying the wrong thing. And that's probably what he's talking about with white people there as far as like the silence meme goes. But who's the one implementing that fear into white people about saying the right or wrong thing? We saw it in that last post with the mom who lived in the apartment. She's the one putting that fear into her kids and into the white community. It's not, they wouldn't be afraid to speak if you didn't come for their jobs, if they didn't say something or if they said the wrong thing. Who's responsible for that fear?
People are afraid of their lack of knowledge, and people are afraid of the unknown.
I'm starting to see a lot of people say, I haven't spoken out because I didn't know what to say. I haven't spoken out because I've been afraid. And I'm like, okay, no. Yeah, like that ship has sailed.
That tone is what I'm talking about. I hate that. Look at that. Those are evil eyes. That's like, silly boy. No. You are not. No, 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 no. Watch this. Watch. She knows what she's doing. Look at that. She's gleefully like telling people and telling white people. She knows what audience is going to be watching this. She's gleefully telling white people like, No, 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 no. That's where the revenge aspect comes in. And Nick Fuentes has talked a lot about this. This isn't about equality for these people. It is very clearly about a revenge factor. They don't, this type of leftist POC person does not want equality. They want superiority. They don't want to be at the same level as white people. They want a South Africa situation.
Okay. No.
No.
Yeah, like that ship has sailed. The month of May has been brutal for people of color with the instances that we're just seeing happen every week. We know it's happening, but it's on such a national platform. And you shouldn't be afraid at this point. You should just do it. Just speak out. You should be so disturbed in the way that we are that you can't help yourself but speak out.
We need white people.
I'm not disturbed at I mean, I'm more disturbed at the black on black crime rate. I'm more concerned that black people account for 13% of the population and commit 50% of the violent crimes. I'm more concerned that if you break down that stat, that 6% of black males commit 48% of violent crimes. I'm more concerned that Boise, Idaho and Jackson, Mississippi have almost identical populations, but Jackson, Mississippi's murder rate, which my family's from, is greater than the murder rate per 100,000 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Those are the things that should concern you. And when you say Black Lives Matter, of course Black Lives matter, but they have to matter to black people when the black death is at the hands of a black person, which is about 85% of the time, as much as they care about it when it's at the hands of a white person. But they don't, because it's about power. It's not about fixing anything.
To engage critically, honestly, repeatedly, thoroughly in the dismantling of racial hierarchy and white supremacy in this country because they're part of it. As with any problem in society, we can't.
Just peep how she talks too. This fits in exactly. She just talks slowly and drags her things out because she's not bright. Most of these people are not bright. Like, don't be fooled by like their background or like the long title. Look, I don't have a college degree and I can say with 100% assured I'm smarter than this woman. I'm not saying every person in this video, but I know for a fact I'm smarter than her. I can hear it in how she talks, dragging things out, trying to make herself sound smarter than she is because she doesn't have much to say, so she has to substitute with like buzzwords that she learned at Berkeley. They're not sending their best.
We can't solve it without the participation of the people who, even if they don't want to be, are largely responsible for creating and maintaining it.
In every society, there's a social caste system, and white people in this one are at the top.
How can... She pulled the social caste system meme. How can you honestly say that white people are at the top right now? I don't even know how you can.
And historically, if you look at even looking at the civil rights movement, Black people have never been able to do it alone and by themselves. And that's partly because we aren't looked at the same way in this society. We aren't on the same level. You know, if we're screaming Black Lives Matter, it's because you haven't been valuing our lives in the same way that you do your own. So if you're not valuing us.
No, but what I would flip back on someone like this is that when they say, the reason we're saying Black Lives Matter is because you don't value our lives as much as you value yours, the way I would flip that back on her is say, no, you don't value your lives as much as white people matter, as much as white lives matter in their own community. So, and I know it's kind of like a Candace Owens Turning Point USA talking point, but I think last weekend 30 people, something like that, died in Chicago in the most deadly Memorial Day weekend ever. Where are any news stories about that? They don't care. They would rather riot and loot Nike stores and Gucci stores over one George Floyd incident rather than take any modicum of responsibility for black on black crime. And I'm not always trying to bring it back to that, but if they cared as much about black lives as they say they do, Chicago would be a 10 times bigger story than George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, because that's where most of it's coming from. But they don't care about that. They want political power. They want supremacy over the system, which they view as white supremacist. It is what it is. They don't care about Black lives when it's at the hands of Black lives. Doesn't matter.
And how do you value our voice and our opinions and our demands for our rights? That is
Demands. And what rights again do Black people not have that white people do have? I don't know. Oh, there are none. That's right.
is why we need the assistance of our non-Black brothers and sisters to help us in this fight, to show that we are America, we are unified, and we are all fighting for equality in the same way. Look at us all.
There's no such thing as equality. There's equality under the law, but no two people are equal. That's a BS. That's a liberal term. No two people are equal in their abilities, their mindset, their mental capacity, their cognition, nothing like that. You could feasibly have equality before the law, and even that has its holes in that that mindset, that framework. But everyone is just totally equal. Like, according to what? How is everyone equal? So LeBron James is equal to me. LeBron James is equal to Bill Gates. How? How do you even commodify that? How do you quantify that? They could have equal rights, but no, equality is a made-up leftist term.
As one. Look at us as the same. Look at us using one voice to fight for.
And even if we used her framework that, look at everyone the same, they're not looking at everyone the same. They're not. I think if anything, white people are like the least tribal, no, this is actually even statistic. White people are the least ethnocentric group in the United States. White people have totally disarmed themselves as far as like tribal thinking goes. 100%. They don't look, you would never talk to a white person and say, and have the white person say, man, that white unemployment rate's low, or, my white community wants this in our, no, they are very universal. They look at everyone the same. You don't, because you're still tribal. And maybe that's a part of human nature. Maybe white people need to wake up to that and be like, you know what, maybe we have to be equally tribal. I'm not advocating for anything there. I'm just saying that clearly she's not looking at everyone as equal, while white people are like, no, we're all brothers, man. We're all brothers. Not according to this woman.
Change.
Find the action that fuels you. If that means there's a protest today at 3 o'clock, I'm going in Times Square. If that means getting up and protesting, if that means donating, if that means speaking in your own words on your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, your outlet, your ways of mass communication, then do it. Stop hesitating.
School teacher, school marm.
Stop thinking that you'll get it wrong. There is no getting it wrong.
School teacher mentality. Go do your homework. Go learn how it works for you, but I need this assignment done by the end of the day. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, it's abusive. Really, at the end of the day, it's verbal trickery through race and through guilt. I really said most of what I had to say there. I didn't think I would go off as much as I did in some of those clips. They were just annoying. I just hate that concept of like, you have to do this the way I say it, because I always hated like those kind of school teachers growing up. Like the very like, nope, wrong. Nope, I don't like it that way. Like the very like female vanity again. And that video that we just watched was very feminine with its approach. It's very crying and my sons and oh my God, it's so rough. No, it's not. Teach your kids to behave and they'll be just fine. It is what it is. I'm fine. I've been pulled over plenty of times. You're fine. Actually, the big red pill I took was when I got into the corporate world, was I realized that I actually had more leeway as a black person, because if you're well-spoken and black, and that doesn't mean whatever this phrase means, acting white, that doesn't mean act white. Just be well-spoken and black, and don't like just be well-spoken and black and be on time and stay with your job for a while. You will, this just proves my point. You will get the jobs that come up if you apply for them and don't have the chip on your shoulder. I see that a lot with black people, is that there's always this chip. It's always like, oh, I shouldn't apply because I'm black. they probably think because I'm black, I won't even do a good job. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've seen it a million times with friends of mine where they don't even apply for the good job because they think they won't get it. That's the real self-hatred. That's the red pill. Is the real self-hatred in the black community is thinking that you're just going to be rejected because what, they don't like you? No, we live in a neoliberal society where money rules all and not being racist rules all. So that is what it is. But yeah, just beware of these framing tricks. Don't let them box you in. Don't let them box you in. Push back. Do what you want. Don't speak up because a leftist told you to. Say what you think. Keep your job. Don't go off at work or anything. Don't lose your job. But yeah, in your personal life, don't let people bully you. You have your opinions. Be well spoken. Be steadfast. Be absolute. You'll be fine. Hope you enjoyed, guys. Talk to you later.